Zaku Prime is finally here, and they arrived with the Trunma and the Crassus Prime, but in today's video we shall be focusing on just Zaku. Now, it's been a while since I played this Warframe, as the last time I dabbled was before the significant stats changes a few months back. With that status rework, enemies also received health and armor changes, which I was very curious to see how they would affect Zaku's health scaling damage. You see, Zaku has some of the strangest scaling mechanics in the game, as the damage of your guns from Grasp of Loke scale with enemy level. At levels from 100 to 1000, the damage they pump out is solid and it will take care of enemies after a bit of consecutive fire. However, once you start getting into the 2 to 3000, the guns start eviscerating enemies within a couple of shots. Zaku hits a strange plateau depending on enemy level, and it's admittedly a bit inconsistent, but for the most part, the higher the enemy level gets, the more damage you deal. After taking Zaku into the thousands again, I was concerned that the health value changes would have ruined them. However, I only noticed a slight dip in overall DPS in the earlier levels. The same increase of DPS takes place at those higher levels and makes quick work of enemies as they escalate. This renders Zaku as one of the best endurance frames in the game. So, it's evident that Zaku does not lack damage, but what about survivability? Overall, their base kit, in my opinion, is lacking a bit in this department. The Vast Untime does give you higher dodge chance, meaning that bullets are less likely to hit you, but this is not reliable even with something like Aviator. And due to set ability, Zaku is not a caster frame, meaning that the shield gating doesn't really work in the playstyle, at least when it comes to the base kit with no helmet. As for the run in the background and my build of choice today, I've chosen to subsume off Zarta's Whisper for Condemn. Zarta's Whisper is a great damage buff, however our primary form of damage is from our Grasp of Loke guns, which unfortunately can't use the void damage buff from the 1. Condemn is our survival tool of choice. Not only does it act as a caster ability due to being cheap and spammable, but also grants shields and overshields upon connecting with the enemy. This helps lock down rooms and keep our shields up consistently. However, this isn't enough to keep Zaku alive, so we're combining this with the mod Rolling Guard for iframes and the Shade Prime for invisibility. The Shade and Hurus Kubro can grant you invis whenever an enemy is nearby, but if you attack with a weapon, the invis will break. Zaku's guns count as an active ability rather than a weapon attack, meaning that you can sustain this invis all whilst pumping out the damage from your grasped guns. In this run, I did have to break invis to deal with nullifiers, so any mission without them will be even easier. In that case, you can forego Condemn for Raw, as you'll be invisible more often, so the extra survivability won't be needed. A Mitre with its neutralizing justice augment is a great option for dealing with nullifiers, but during this gameplay, you can see my loadout consists of the Strun Prime Incarnon, Lex Prime Incarnon, and the Glaive Prime. Weaponry is primarily used for nullies and reducing enemy defenses. Grasp of Loke can have issues with overguard and defenses such as shield drones and ancient healers, so having some strong weapons to chew through those layers will allow your summon guns to deal with the more fortified hordes. Before we go over the builds, we gotta talk playstyle. Zaku is rather unique due to the ability to freeze the duration of their skills when casting the 4. Keeping your 2 active at all times and finding enemies near choke points to use gaze on and create large fields of armor strip, using Condemn for safety and recasting the Vast Untime so that your 2 and 3 stay active constantly. Enemies held in gaze can also trigger the invis from Shade or Hurus, so staying near one of those inflicted will keep you safe until you need to shoot a nullifier. In the earlier levels, you will find yourself using your guns more often to kill enemies faster, while your grasp guns ramp up in damage if you are in an endless mission, because of course, the higher enemy level, the more damage your guns wind up doing. Zaku is definitely an endurance frame due to this mechanic, but like stated earlier, it can be used with Raw instead to bolster the damage in earlier levels. Before we get into the build real quick, we have to cover Gaze and our power strength and our aura mod. As you can see, my Gaze has a defense reduction of 84% here. We're achieving this because of our mod selection, but also because of our Archon shards. I have 2 ability strength for Tau Forged in here, as well as 2 for duration. The duration are not important. I would recommend 1 casting speed because it makes it way more easy to play, but these 2 are necessary for this build in order to hit the necessary threshold combined with corrosive projection. This combination will put you over the necessary margin in order to achieve 100% armor strip with Gaze, so that way your 2 can do a bunch of damage. As mentioned, we have Rolling Guard in here for survivability, and of course Aegis as well is going to help in moments where we're taking a lot of damage, as this is going to proc quite often and keep us alive. Prime shot footage so we don't get knocked down. Augur Reach, Stretch and Overextended for that gaze range, so we're stripping large areas of the room, and it's going to affect the range on all of our other abilities, the damage and debuff from the 4, the range on the 2 and the range on the 1. Very important to go with a lot of range here. To offset that negative strength we have Transient Fortitude, Umbral Intensify and Melt Augmented, and of course our shards. You do not need Melt Augmented at all, this is just for bonus damage in the build. You could replace this with Barrier for even more survivability on your shields. This is not needed, you already have the threshold with these 2 mods and your shards and Corrosive Projection. Prime Continuity to offset that duration, taken away from Transient Fortitude, and of course 2 shards to help even more with that. And for our Energy Sustain we're using Energy Nexus. You could use Equilibrium or anything else of your choice, maybe even a Prime Flow. The reason why I like Energy Nexus is because Fast on Time is freezing the duration of our abilities, meaning that we're not casting all that much. And in the time spent between casting these abilities, Energy Nexus is more than likely going to have us refilled it enough to cast again. For our Xaku Prime evolutions, we are going with Blazing Barrel, Rapid Reinforcement, and Elemental Balance. It's a Viral Hunter's Munitions setup with a nice little bit of fire rate because I do like having fire on this weapon, it just makes it feel way better. And Primary Dexterity shouldn't be in here, and it was for the run, but you're better off going with Primary Merciless of course because we're not really meleeing too much. But this was still decent because I was using the Glaive a large amount. Our Glaive Prime evolutions were Hoplite Virtue, Ready Retaliation, and Critical Parallel. The Lex Prime is basically an Archoplasmor on roids. Combine this with Secondary Deadhead and going for headshots. It's arguably way more powerful than the Strun Incarnon, at least in terms of pure upfront damage. The AoE is also debatable, but for a secondary weapon it's definitely keeping up with our primary. And then here is the mod setup for the Glaive. You can use something like a Zorus as well, we've got plenty of good glaives in the game, this is what I was using. This is really useful for just clearing hordes in the room in general, and also does help with Nullifier Bubbles quite a lot due to the AoE. Any moments where the levels aren't in our favour and the damage from our second ability isn't where we want it, this is the weapon you're going to be clearing rooms with on a regular basis. And then we're using Madurai for our focus school, as to which we were of course using it for the casting speed that we get from power transfer, and then Sling Strength for that bonus ability strength just for more damage. So there you have it, an endurance healthy setup for Zaku Prime. As with most primes, the stats increase on this frame aren't too much compared to the original. I was more interested in the fashion frame differences between this and the Prime. Let me know what you guys think of the Prime design by the way. I think it's definitely competing with the deluxe skin, which says a lot. I will admit, I was originally trying to take this survival till level cap, because last time you guys really enjoyed when I took Kome to level cap in a solo survival, which took a couple of days to do because I paused it. I wanted to do that again, but this time, I'll be honest, not only was I getting really tired and I kept fucking up and downing myself, but also, I think Zaku's a little bit more boring compared to someone like Kome. If you guys are liking this thing where I try to take Warframes on longer survivals, either when a new frame comes out or a Prime, we can continue to try to do this on the channel, see how far I can take them in a solo survival, as opposed to doing, you know, the standard Void Cascade which most other creators will be doing, just because it's something a little different. Zaku can easily go to level cap in survival by the way, even solo. I was half tempted to try this again, but I'd rather get the video out now with the content that we have, whilst this content is still fresh. And in that case, I will leave you guys with a bit of the rest of the gameplay as per usual, so that way you can see me going up against higher level enemies as it escalates, getting into the 3,000 to 4,000s. And I hope you guys enjoy the gameplay. If you liked the video, found it useful, please feel free to like and subscribe. And of course my links are in the description for anyone that wants to join the Twitch streams. We play a bunch of different games over there. Come be a part of the community. Appreciate the support as always, and I'll see you guys in the next video.